Good evening. The word is grace. The word is grace. And yet the air is thick with alarms, isn't it? A siren of headlines, a chorus of notifications, the endless scroll that never concludes a sentence but provokes another. You put the lights out, and the mind turns them back on, rehearsing what you will say to the one who wronged you, rehearsing the outrage you will offer when morning comes. You see what that costs? The quiet is borrowed by fear. The breath is shortened by a tale that isn't even in the room. Sleeplessness, shaken nerves, the compulsion to check again and again. Wouldn't you call this bondage? And isn't it remarkable that in all this noise, not one finger of it is laid hold on your true being unless you hand it the key? Into this triggered world, a very old word is spoken. Resist not evil, Matthew 5:39. At once, the natural mind protests. Then am I to be a doormat? Am I to approve of wrongdoing? Am I to stand idle while harm is afoot? No. No. You see, that is not the teaching. That is not the Spirit's intent. Resist not is not cowardice, not surrender, not approval. It is not the applause of evil. It is not the consent of fear. Resist not evil is the refusal to grant it a throne in your consciousness. It is the holy denial of a second power. It is saying with a settled certainty, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, John 14:27. And therefore, I will not mortgage that peace to the next provocation. Let us put it this way. Whenever you set yourself to fight evil as if it were a power equal and opposite to God, you have already surrendered your temple. You have kneeled before a false king. No, there is one power, one presence, one life. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. If there is stillness enough to know, then there is authority enough to rest. And if there is authority enough to rest, there is no ground to enthrone a rival. The nations of the world make careers out of outrage. The kingdom of grace makes a sanctuary out of awareness. You see, this is the intelligence of spiritual non-resistance. It does not say do nothing. It says do not lie. Do not lie within yourself by treating a claim as if it were a power. Do not capitulate to an image and call it substance. Do not give inner consent to what God has never ordained. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord, Zechariah 4-6. If that is so, then to arm ourselves with inner violence is already to have disarmed the spirit. We are not asked to love darkness. We are asked to refuse it, hospitality. We are not asked to approve harm. We are asked to withdraw from it the only fuel it can burn our belief. For the fires of anger do not consume the world first. They consume your own heart first. Wouldn't you consider it a sin if a child of a wise household refused to sleep because he suspected his father's table would not be laid in the morning? And wouldn't you say to him, rest, child, the house is governed. So we set the promise before us. Unshakable peace, not by accident, not by indifference, but by a new inner posture. The posture is this: one power only, one presence only. We agree here and now not to react as if evil bears authority. We agree to withdraw the royal chair we have kept ready for every outrage to sit upon. And we begin with a simple obedience. Be still and know. If you feel the old habit rise, I must resist, I must argue, I must conquer, answer it with a clear no. No. There is nothing to crown but God. There is nothing to enthrone but grace. And as we stand in that knowing, the waves that battered us a moment ago lose their command, for they do not rule the sea, and they do not rule you. Now, let us look plainly at what most of us have called resisting evil. You feel the sting of an insult, and immediately the jaw sets, the shoulders lift, the breath shortens, and the courtroom opens in the mind. You try the case 100 times in 100 ways. You compose answers for tomorrow, and then amend them for the afternoon, and then rewrite them for the night. You scour for allies. You search the scroll for evidence. You study the enemy's weakness. And all the while, the enemy you are feeding is not outside. It is the storm you have licensed within. This is the usual pattern. Arguing, condemning, bracing, strategizing, replaying, as if personal force could push back a shadow and make the sun appear. You see, you are not resisting evil. You are rehearsing it, dignifying it, ventilating it, and then calling that labor righteousness. And what is the hidden wage of that labor? Even if you should win some outward skirmish, even if your letter is sharper, your argument cleaner, your strategy more cunning, inwardly you have already sold your peace for a cheap victory. You lay down at night and the body lies there, but the fight keeps standing. Food is on the table, but taste has been evicted. Friends are present, but you are absent because you have granted a claim the power to govern your temple. Be not overcome of evil, Paul says, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. How do you think evil overcomes you? Not first by bruising the body, but by occupying the altar of attention, by taxing your very breath. The collapse begins when you make the appearance real enough to deserve a war. Remember the Master's distinction. The nations of the world seek after these things, Luke 12:30. The nations react and counter-react. They live by forecast and fear of outcomes. They bank on tomorrow as if God were absent and only their might could secure the day. But the kingdom does not start out there with a triumphant gesture. The kingdom begins within, as an inner government that refuses a second throne. My kingdom is not of this world, John 18:36. That is not geography. That is governance. If you make your peace subject to headlines, to someone's praise or blame, to the behavior of neighbors or nations, you have returned your passport to the nations of the world, and you will live by their customs. Agitation, calculation, exhaustion. Let me tell you a small story. A man came and said, I am practicing vigilance. He showed me his vigilance. A neat, leather-bound ledger recording every wrong, every slight, every unpaid debt of courtesy. He believed this accounting kept them safe, but his nights were a garrison without rest, and his mornings a march without song. I said to him, you are not vigilant over truth. You are vigilant over shadows. You are guarding the very prison you fear. Wouldn't you consider it a sin if your child, sitting at a table prepared, insisted on clutching his lunch pail, chewing his nails, and rehearsing scarcity? Take no thought, the Master whispers, Matthew 6. No, no. That ledger is the thought that takes you. When you fight evil as a power, you first grant it power over your mind, and that is where collapse begins. Each reaction is a hook. The outer trigger throws its barb, but it cannot land without your consent. Reaction is the open mouth. Consent is the bite, and then you are dragged to and fro by what you have sworn to conquer. Non-reaction is not passivity. It is unhooking. It is the quiet refusal to bite the bait of appearance. A soft answer turneth away wrath, Proverbs 15:1, because a soft answer is given by a heart not hooked. You see, this is intelligence, not laziness. It is the mind returning to one power only and saying inwardly, There is nothing to crown here but God. So then, do we deny what is at our door? No. Again, no. We deny that it is a power. We meet the circumstance, but we do not meet it as combatants of equal rank. We meet it as instruments of grace. And the first instrument is silence, the inward drawing back of consent, the closing of the door called reaction. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. Not the sharp reply, not the perfect plan, not the well-aimed blow, but the truth known within, which loosens the hook, steadies the breath, and returns the government of your house to the one who never relinquished it. Now we must set the inner rule without stutter or apology. There are not two powers wrestling for your life. There is one. Hear, O Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord. Deuteronomy 6:4. I am the Lord, and there is none else. Isaiah 45:5. If you will let those words be more than embroidery on a sampler, if you will let them be governance, then the whole drama of resistance collapses of itself, because there is nothing to fight. There is God, the one presence, the one life, the one law, and all that appears unlike God is not a second presence, but a claim, a suggestion, a shadow without substance. You see, light does not fight darkness. It appears, and darkness is named for what it was, absence. No, this is not pretending facts are not there. This is the refusal to let the facts of a scene impersonate the truth of being. The bill comes due, the slander circulates, the body twinges, the headline shouts, these are the human situations. We do not deny their appearance. We deny their authority. We deny them the scepter, the throne, and the keys to the temple. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalm 127:1. And except the Lord govern the house, every guest who knocks will think he is host. You see, the intelligence of resist not evil is this. Do not place a crown upon a suggestion and then bow to it with your fear. Refuse consent to a false premise, and you pull the very nail out of the enemy's door. This one power rule is inner government. It is not a social policy first. It is not a clever strategy. It is not a way of winning arguments. It is the law of your own sanctuary. If God is the only power, then nothing outside can dictate your identity, your safety, your supply, or your peace. In him we live and move and have our being. Acts 17:28. If we live and move in him, how shall we be evicted by rumor, taxed by tomorrow, or measured by man? The nations of the world are measured by forecasts and force. The sons and daughters of the kingdom are measured by presence. My kingdom is not a terrain outside. It is a sovereignty within that says, there shall be no other gods before me. Exodus 20:3. Not even the God of my own fear. Let us put it this way. You do not take a broom to chase night out of a room. You lift the shade. You do not shout at the theater screen to change the picture. You turn to the light behind the film. You do not argue with every shadow that appears at dusk. You rest in the knowing that a single sun governs the day. In the same manner, when claims arise, lack, injustice, insult, do not wrestle the shadow on the wall. Turn quietly but decisively to the light that is already present, the one power. And in that turning, you will find that the pressure to act foolishly eases, the compulsion to lash out loses its voice, and wisdom has room to speak. Therefore, the first work is never to fix the scene. No. Again, no. The first work is to restore awareness of presence. This is prayer as communion. This is the silent, be still, and know that I am God. Psalm 46-10, functioning as government. Sit back an inch, not from responsibility, but from inner consent to fear, and let the heart acknowledge, thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Hold it until the breath lengthens and the shoulders, remember they are not Atlas. When the one power is felt, even faintly, action, if any be required, will rise without violence. Words, if any be given, will be clean and soft, not edged with the acid of self-defense. Steps will present themselves like stones in a stream, and you will place your foot without hurry, because you have ceased to honor a rival to God. Take this as your inward seal before you meet the day. One power only. Say it under the threshold of every trigger. Say it before you answer, before you calculate, before you scroll. Say it until the suggestion shrinks to the paper tiger it always was. Then, if there is to be doing, let it be born of the presence you have acknowledged, and not of the panic you refused. This is not doing nothing. This is doing from God, and this is why non-resistance is the most intelligent, most effective, most profoundly safe way to live. You are no longer a citizen of the nations of reaction. You are governed by the one who is already king. Let us come nearer to the moment itself, the moment when the spark jumps. A word is spoken. A tone is felt. A headline flashes. A bill arrives. A face turns away. And at once there is the little thud in the stomach, the warmth in the cheeks, the breath that lifts to the throat. The world has offered a stimulus. That is all. Then the mind rushes in as playwright and director, crowds the stage with meanings, insult, threat, scarcity, disrespect in the body. Faithful stagehand hauls up the scenery, adrenaline, tightness, tremor. In an instant, you are living inside a set that you yourself have furnished. You see, the trigger is not the enemy. Your enthronement of it is. The appearance knocks, and you, by reaction, fling wide the inner door and say, sit, rule, command my speech, command my sleep. No, it has no such right. It cannot govern you unless you hire it as governor. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. There is a chaste dignity in that counsel. It tells you where the gate is and whose hand is on the latch. The latch is within. The gate opens or shuts by your consent. The instant you feel the heat rise, you are at a fork. Either you anoint the appearance with your attention and grant it office, or you refuse its coronation and return to presence. That moment is holy ground. Do not rush past it. Do not explain it away. Do not consult the nations of the world and their manuals on retaliation. Stop. Be still. Let it pass. Do not answer it in your mind. Do not rehearse it. Do not feed it. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Exodus 14:13. In that stillness, the unreal cannot collect your rent. In that stillness, the only power is remembered. Let us put it in the plainest language so you may practice it standing in a kitchen or at a desk or at a red light. The phone vibrates with a sharp message. The story starts to write itself in your head. Stop. Drop your shoulders an inch. Breathe once as if God were breathing you. Whisper within. One power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Do not improve the message in your imagination. Do not compose your defense. Do not gather your army. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. James 1:20. Let the inner wave crest and fall without surfing it with thought. If you must do anything in that 10 seconds, do this. Turn your face, without words even, toward the presence that already is, as if the sun had just touched your closed eyelids, and wait. It will pass. It will pass. What remains will be the quiet from which right seeing comes. You say, but if I do not answer, will I not be taken for weak? Listen, strength is not proven by speed of reply, but by government of being. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Psalm 141:3. Before the door of your lips is the door of your heart. Attend there, and the lips will not betray you. If an answer is needed, it will rise from the sea that has been calmed, not from the churn that was about to drown you. And if action is required, it will carry the softness of a wave that shapes a stone, not the harshness of a hammer that shatters what it strikes. Do not mistake this for doing nothing. You are doing the one thing needful. Luke 10:42. You are closing the inner door through which all mischief enters. You are refusing to lend your attention to a lie about power. You are disestablishing a second kingdom before it can be seated. And because you close it, you save yourself hours that would have been lived in an imaginary courtroom. You save your body from being made a battlefield. You save your brother or sister from being held as your enemy. Let not your heart be troubled, John 14:1. That is not a sentiment. It is an instruction on government. Do not give permission, do not enthrone. Now, how shall you keep the door without becoming rigid? How shall you meet the knock without either surrendering to it or slamming the house against love? Again, we come to prayer, but not the prayer of asking for things, not the bargaining of the nations of the world. No. We come to communion. We come to the simple turning that says, open my eyes, illumine me, reveal what is true here. Be a light within me. The next breath belongs to that. The next look belongs to that. And out of that quiet, the trigger is seen for what it was, an invitation to remember God, and the government of your house returns to the one who has always been Lord. Now we turn to prayer, and I must say it plainly, so there is no fog left to hide in. The common habit of praying to get God to fix a situation is the very act that keeps the situation seated on a throne in your mind. You see, when you pray about an enemy, you install the enemy as a power. When you pray for supply, as if supply were missing, you enthrone absence. When you beg health, as if disease were a sovereign, you have already stooped beneath a second king. No, this is not prayer in the kingdom. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. Matthew 6-8. To keep asking as if he does not know is to place yourself in the nations of the world where fear is the liturgy and forecasts are the psalms. Wouldn't you consider it an injury to your own heart if, seated at a table already spread, you took to pleading for bread, tears in your eyes, voice straining, while the steam of the meal rose before you? What does such pleading say? It says, I do not trust the house. I do not trust the one who governs it. In the same way, petitionary prayer implies a universe of two powers, God on one side and evil on the other, and you hoping to swing the vote. But the Master did not pray that way. At the very mouth of death, standing before what the eyes called final, he lifted his face and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. I knew that thou hearest me always. John 11:41-42. Thanksgiving, recognition, communion, this is prayer. Let us put it this way. True prayer does not introduce God to a crisis. It introduces us to God. True prayer does not argue the case. It lays down the weapons and returns to presence. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Not be loud and persuade. Be still and know. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. The strength is not in the many words. The strength is in the knowing, and the knowing is born of communion, of presence in presence. How then do you pray in this way? Very simply, and I mean very simply. Turn within as you would turn to a loved one with whom no speech is needed. Sit for a breath as if you were on a hillside at dusk, hand in hand, and the silence is your agreement. Say, if words must be said, open my eyes, illumine me, be a light within me, reveal thyself here, not change him, not fix this, not hurry, but reveal. Do you see the difference? Petition keeps the picture on the screen and asks for edits. Communion turns to the light behind the film and lets the picture be reseen. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Prayer is the resting in that now, not the negotiating to achieve it tomorrow. Bring this into your next trigger. The message stings. The face hardens. The memory of an old hurt rises. If you run to words to win the argument, you are still in the nations of the world, building your tower to heaven brick by brick. No. Stop. Let the breath come back to God. Whisper. One power only. Open my eyes. Illumine me. Then do nothing but be with God. For a moment, the way a child leans into a father's side in a crowd and knows without proof that he is safe. In that moment, right seeing is restored. And with right seeing comes a strange quiet that the argument cannot penetrate. Pray without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 does not mean repeat requests without ceasing. It means remain in communion, remain in recognition that presence is here and here is holy. From this, action may come, speech may come, even silence may come, but none of it will be born of fierce pressure. It will not be a maneuver to preserve a self-image or punish a brother. It will be the easy obedience of one who has remembered source. And when you have prayed so, when you have communed rather than bargained, you will find that the problem has shrunk to its true size. A claim without scepter, a shadow without substance, unable to steal the government of your peace. This, then, is the heart of our practice. Move from pleading to presence, from asking for outcomes to allowing revelation. The word is grace. The word is grace. And in grace, prayer is not an effort to make God behave. Prayer is the beholding that lets us awaken to what already is. Take no thought for how it will look tomorrow. Luke 12. Take this thought only. Father, reveal thyself here. Keep that, and the kingdom answers not by correcting a world power, but by removing its crown in your consciousness, and peace, unborrowed and unbought, returns to its throne. Now, hear this plainly, so that confusion does not steal your strength. Resist not is not do nothing. No. Passivity is the way of avoiding responsibility. Spiritual non-resistance is the way of refusing hatred, fear, revenge, and inner coercion, their citizenship in your heart. You see, the first work is always inward. Return to presence. Restore the government of one power only. But that inner government does not cancel action. It purifies it. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Zechariah 4-6. Therefore, if action rises, let it be Spirit's action. If words are given, let them be Spirit's words. This is the distinction. The nations of the world act from pressure, from panic, from the lash of self-importance. The children of the kingdom move by grace guided, proportionate, free of personal crusade. Let us put it this way. You may speak a correction, but not as a soldier launching a war, rather as a witness giving clear light. You may report harm or file a complaint, but not to punish, not to satisfy the appetite of anger, only to let order be restored. You may set a boundary, and you may leave a room or a job or a contract, but you will not leave with a sword drawn in the heart. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. James 1:20. When anger is captain, even your right cause is dragged into the mud. When peace reigns within, even a firm no is a quiet medicine. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Proverbs 15:1. Soft does not mean weak, it means unhooked, unbeholden to the bait that would make you a reaction's puppet. Action from peace has a different fragrance. It is simple, it is clean, it does not multiply words. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. Matthew 5:37. You answer the email, not to prove a self, but to bear witness to clarity. You correct the invoice, not to humiliate, but to keep the books true. You confront a deception, not to destroy a person, but to withdraw hospitality from a lie. And when you must walk away, you walk away without cursing the ground. This is the liberty of the kingdom, to act without inner violence. Be ye angry, and sin not. Ephesians 4:26. There may be a holy heat that registers wrong, but do not give it the keys to your house. Do not let it light the fires of revenge. Do not let it sermonize in your thoughts. Do not let it be your God. Return, if only for one breath, to the sanctuary. One power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Consider the difference in outcomes from reaction. You answer too fast, you pile on force, you overreach. Pride seizes the helm, and soon you are entangled in a quarrel that has no center and no end. From communion, you wait a moment. You see what is yours to do and what is not. You act as instrument, not as owner. The step is exact, no more, no less. The tone is human, firm, courteous, true. And because you have not crowned a second power, you are not trying to save a self-image or to collect a debt from your brother. You are letting order, which is God's, appear. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Romans 12:19. So you refuse vengeance at seek. You let justice be justice without becoming judge and executioner in your own mind. Not by might, not by power, by grace. There is a time to speak and a time to keep silence, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Ecclesiastes 3. In the nations of the world, those times are guessed at by fear. In the kingdom, they are discerned in communion. Therefore, do not be passive if the lamp of wisdom shows a step. And do not be aggressive If silence is the word for now, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Matthew 10:16. Wisdom without harm, that is right action. Harmlessness without wisdom, that is passivity. Our way is neither. Our way is the simple obedience that comes when the storm within has been calmed and the helm returned to the one who never lost it. And now I must tell you where this battleground is most often found. It is not mainly in headlines or in courts. It is at the table, and on the phone, and behind the eyes, across a pillow. Relationships, this is where the old habit of inner warfare runs its busiest shop. We demand, we resent, we keep a private bookkeeping of who owes what, and we make of our brother and sister a source we intend to tax. No, that is bondage for them and for you. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Romans 13:8. If action is needed there, an honest word, a firm boundary, a decided exit, let it be done as one who owes no man and is in bondage to none but love. For the next grace we must receive is the grace to loose him and let him go, and to find our peace no longer mortgaged to man, but resting where it belongs, in God alone. Now let us come to the simple command that cuts the knot, not with steel, but with spirit. Loose him and let him go. John 11:44. You see, the Master spoke that over Lazarus, but the word serves our households just as surely. For many a brother and sister is bound not by grave clothes, but by the wrappings of our demands, apology owed, respect owed, explanation owed, understanding owed, and we call it justice. No, that is not justice. That is bondage. And the jailer in that prison is the one who suffers first. With what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Matthew 7:2. When you keep your neighbor bound to a debt in thought, that same tape binds your own breath, and the outrage cycle has its fuel for another day. Let us put it this way. Every morning, the nations of the world issue warrants, summonses for someone to pay what is owed. We wake and reach for our ledgers, mental, perhaps literal, and we begin the tally. He still hasn't apologized. She still doesn't see my side. They still have not respected my contribution. And then, unastonished, we find our jaw set, our stomach tight, and our day already spent before the sun is up. Wouldn't you consider it strange if a child at a feast kept his plate empty because he was waiting for the cook to apologize for yesterday's spice? Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Matthew 6:11-12. Bread and forgiveness live in the same breath. If you withhold one, you choke on the other. So here is the liberation. Loose him and let him go. Loose them and let them go. Do not hold them in your thought. Do not hold them in your speech. Do not hold them in your night prayers by retelling what they owe. Agree every day that no man owes you anything. I will repeat it so the mind cannot dodge it. Agree every day that no man owes you anything. Not as defeat, not as surrender to wrong, as freedom, as release from dependence upon man for your peace. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Romans 13:8. If love is the only debt, then accounts close quickly, and the outrage market closes with them. But what of real harm, you say? We will not be naive, and we will not give hospitality to lies. If a boundary must be set, set it. If a report must be made, make it. But do not hold the offender as your source of pain or your source of peace. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Luke 6:37. Forgiveness is the refusal to enthrone another as your keeper. Forgiveness is the declaration of non-dependence on man. It is the quiet knowing that whatever was truly yours has not been injured because source is God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Liberty begins in the thought that releases. A woman came and said, I cannot be free until he admits what he did. 10 years had trained that sentence to sound like virtue. I said, you have given him the keys to your soul, and you call it justice. Take him back. She balked. The next day, she tried the smallest step. She sat 10 minutes and did not rehearse his confession in her mind. She whispered, one power only. Father, reveal thyself here. I agree that no man owes me anything. The storm did not end that hour, but something ended. The cycle that needed his repentance to breathe lost its air. Within a week, she spoke a clean boundary without venom. Within a month, she laughed without explanation. Did he ever apologize? That became a footnote. Source had been restored. You see, the transition this makes possible. Once people are loosed, no longer sources to be taxed, no longer enemies to be fed, we are free to see God as the only source and the only power. Channels may open or close, minds may awaken or refuse, but our peace is no longer mortgaged to their behavior. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34. To themselves, above all, loose him and let him go. Loose them and let him go. And as you loose, feel the grave clothes fall from your own ankles and walk out into the morning unbound, because thy grace is your sufficiency. And in that grace, nothing and no one is left to rule your heart but God. And now that you have loosed them, loosed him, loosed her, loose the ledger and the outstanding balance, you must take the next step, or the old bondage will creep back in a new uniform. Do not look to man. Do not look to man whose breath is in his nostrils. Isaiah 2:22. The subtle trigger of modern life is this. I am safe so long as they behave. I am provided for so long as the institution agrees. I am at peace so long as outcomes fall my way. No. That is dependence on man, and it is the quiet idolatry that keeps the heart on a leash. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. Psalm 118:8-9. You see, whenever you make your peace contingent upon a person, a board, a ruling, a market, you have already enthroned a second power, and then you must live afraid to displease, afraid to lose, afraid to say yes when you mean no and no when you mean yes. Let us put it this way. People are channels. God is source. The river of grace flows, and sometimes it comes through a hillside spring, sometimes through a copper pipe, sometimes through a cloud that gives rain. None of these are the river's maker. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights. James 1:17. Your employer may be a pipe, the check, a pipe, a friend, an avenue, a practitioner, an instrument, a doctor, a vehicle, but the life and the light and the law are God's. When you congratulate the pipe as the river, you place your lips on metal, and soon you taste rust and call it scarcity. No. Again, no. Receive gratefully whatever avenue appears, and release it the next hour if another is given. Do not decide who or what. Do not attach your breath to a channel. Attach your trust to source. What happens the moment you live this way? Fear loses its arguments, and manipulation loses its market. You stop pressuring your spouse to be your savior and your boss to be your keeper. You stop training your friends to perform as your breath and your children to serve as your crown. No man can serve two masters. Matthew 6:24. If God is your source, then man is free to be man. An instrument today, a different instrument tomorrow. You do not flatter to secure. You do not threaten to hold. You do not sulk to collect. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Romans 13:8. Love spends itself without an invoice. Fear creates invoices without end. As you let channels be channels, you unhook them from your need to be safe, and they often relax into their best service because you have ceased to make of them a god or a devil. A man came in the gray of a layoff season with eyes that scanned tomorrow as if it were a cliff. It all depends on my manager, he said. If she fights for me, I live. If not, I'm finished. I said, no. You live in God. Your manager may be an avenue or not. Your supply is not her breath. He thought that irresponsible. The next week, as rumors thickened, he practiced 10 minutes in the car before he walked in. One power only, Father, reveal thyself here. Thy grace is my sufficiency. My God shall supply all my need according to his riches in glory. Philippians 4:19. He stopped rehearsing speeches to sway her. He stopped avoiding her to punish her. He did his work as one carried, not as one on trial. She did not keep him. The notice came. For 2 days, the mind tried to resurrect the old altar of blame. He returned to source. On the third day, a message arrived from a colleague in another firm he had helped 2 years earlier without ledger or scheme. This may be left field, but your name rose up. Within a week, he began work that fit him better than the job he had clung to. He would tell you the miracle was not the offer. The miracle was the breath that returned the moment he let the manager be a channel and God be God. And had no offer come that week, the miracle would have stood. The fear had lost its throne because cause had been put back where it belongs. You see the kingdom logic here. If the sun is your light, any window may brighten the room. And if a window sticks or shuts, the sun is not diminished. Look unto me and be ye saved. Isaiah 45:22. Look unto me, not unto payroll, not unto policies, not unto the mood of a household. As you do, you stop conscripting people into your drama. No more heroes to crown, no more villains to feed, and peace unborrowed returns. The word is grace. The word is grace. Grace will choose its own avenues. Grace will close a door and open a gate. Grace will put a word in one mouth today and a coin in a fish's mouth tomorrow. Matthew 17:27. What is yours by the nature of God comes with its fulfillment. You need not clutch at man to ensure it. And here is the quiet fruit. When source is God, tomorrow anguish loosens its grip. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no thought for the morrow. Matthew 6:33-34. Not by ignoring life, but by placing cause where cause lives. Let people be channels, never sources. Agree every day that no man owes you anything. Cease from man, not from love, but from dependence, and feel the heart come to rest. For when God alone is source, the nations of the world may measure, predict, and provoke, but within you the government is settled, and the peace that passes understanding keeps the door. Now we must deal with the ghost that keeps slipping back in even after you have loosed men and women from being your source. It wears many headlines and many calendars, and it whispers that safety is always one day away. The master met it with a sentence that separates the nations of the world from the kingdom. Take no thought for your life what ye shall eat, neither for the body what ye shall put on. For all these things do the nations of the world seek, but rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Luke 12:22. Consider that contrast. The nations of the world live by tomorrow, fear, by forecasts and scrambling. The children of the kingdom live by presence, by grace, by the now that is filled with God. Take therefore no thought for the morrow. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Matthew 6:34. No. Tomorrow is not your concern, but God's. You see, modern triggers are fed by tomorrow. The notifications on your screen preach a daily apocalypse. Headlines are composed not to inform, but to import fear into your next hour. Doom scrolling is tomorrow, fear with a screen. You are shown a graph that points downward, and you live the next week before this one has even begun. You are shown a rumor, and you answer 10 different conversations you have not had yet. And all the while, the only place where God can be known here is abandoned for a theater of what-ifs. Wouldn't you consider it a strange waste if a child, with a warm meal before him, pushed it away to count the imagined meals of next winter? Give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:11. Daily. The prayer is a training ground in now. Let us put it very plainly. The moment you feel the body tighten as you read a forecast or replay a scene you have not entered, stop. Lay the device down as if it were growing hot in your hand. Drop your shoulders an inch. Breathe once as if you were being breathed. Whisper within, one power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Father, reveal thyself here. Do not race forward to defend tomorrow. Do not draft speeches for hours that have not dawned. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Philippians 4-6. In the kingdom, thanksgiving precedes evidence because presence is evidence. And when presence fills the now, the storm of forecast cannot anchor a hook in you. This does not mean neglect wisdom. We will not confuse guidance with guesswork. You may keep a calendar. You may place a reminder. You may prepare for a meeting or set aside for winter, but do not carry the burden of 1,000 tomorrows on your back today. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Proverbs 27-1. Planning is a tool. Anxiety is an idol. The nations of the world clutch plans as insurance because they see two powers and fear the stronger is not God. We acknowledge one power only, and so we plan like stewards, not like panicked owners. We listen now, we act now, and we leave tomorrow in the hands in which it has always rested. A friend confessed that every morning he woke with his jaw set and his thumb already scrolling. Markets, storms, arguments by proxy, and by breakfast he had fought 3 wars that had not yet been declared. I said, no, give God the first look. He agreed to one small obedience. No screens until he had sat 10 minutes in silence with, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23-1 on his lips. On the 3rd day, he reported a change that sounded small, but was everything. His breath had stopped living an hour ahead. The meetings did not vanish. The figures did not always please, but his words became simple. His steps exact. His rest returned. Tomorrow, fear had been dismissed from the throne. You see how this steadies you in a triggered world. Triggers multiply in borrowed time. They need tomorrow to terrify you. They need you to move your seat from presence into prediction. Refuse the move. Return to God now. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap, and God feedeth them. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. If then God so clothe the grass, how much more will he clothe you? Luke 12, 24, 27, 28. The word is grace. The word is grace. And grace is not a promise of survival someday. Grace is the sufficiency of God. Here, light for the next step, word for the next sentence, bread for this day. As you live in this way, peace ceases to be a mood and becomes government. You are no longer pushed about by graphs of dread or headlines designed to buy your attention with fear. Tomorrow is God's. Today is revelation. And when the day places something in your hand, an assignment, a child's need, a bill, a door to knock on, you will discover a secret the nations of the world do not know and cannot buy. Whatever truly comes with its own fulfillment. This is where we are going next. But feel the edge of it already. Grace does not send you to fetch your own provision. Grace brings the task and arrives as the wisdom, the strength, the exact supply. Thy grace is sufficient for me. And because it is, the heart can rest even while the world tries to sell it 1,000 tomorrows before noon. Yes, feel it now. Not as an ornament of words, but as breath. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Again, thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. The word is grace. The word is grace. And what is meant by grace here is not a drizzle of help that sends you out to finish the job with your own cleverness. It is fulfillment. It is God's own fullness, arriving as task and provision together. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12-9. Weakness, then, is not a sentence. It is an altar where strength appears, not yours, but his. Let us put it this way. Grace never hands you a key without the door that fits it, and never places you at a door without the key already in your palm. When a duty is truly given you, the wisdom to perform it travels in the same carriage. When a bill rightly belongs to you today, the supply for it has already left heaven's warehouse for your address. When it has not, you may fight and fret and borrow from tomorrow, fear. But the door will not open because it isn't yours to open. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalm 127-1. Vain labor is the labor that tries to add human might to a work that has not been sent. Grace labor is light, exact, timely, and accompanied by its own tools. Would you send your child for bread and give him no coin? Would you ask her to cross a river and withhold a boat? No, no. What man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Matthew 7-9. If you, imperfect as we are, know how to give what completes the need, shall we imagine our Father sends us on errands without provision? The nations of the world think so, and therefore they struggle and clutch and scheme. We in the kingdom are taught otherwise. As thy days, so shall thy strength be. Deuteronomy 33-25. Not as thy worries, not as thy guesses about tomorrow, thy days. The strength belongs to the day that is given. The wisdom belongs to the task that is real. And what of conflict, of injustice, of the meeting where words grow hot? Again, the sufficiency is not yours to invent. It is God's to unveil. Enter not as a debater preserving a mask. Enter as an instrument awaiting sound. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Matthew 10:19-20. You see, panic presumes two powers. and tries to outshout the louder. Communion presumes one power and listens for the word that unknots without inner violence. If you are called to speak, the word will come with its tone and its restraint. If you are called to hold silence, the silence will be thick with presence and will not read as fear. If you are called to set a boundary, the line will draw itself in peace and will need no barbed wire to make it stand. A nurse told me she dreaded the night shift because chaos had become her expectation. I said, no. Chaos is not your master. Grace is your sufficiency. She began each arrival with 3 breaths and the mantra, Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. The first night, the same rush came, but the sequence of steps was given her one after the other without debate. The second night, a family quarrel in the hall rose like a storm. A single sentence was placed in her mouth, and the storm folded. Were there still hard moments? Of course. But the weight moved from her shoulders to God's hands, and with it her identity moved from a small self-bracing to an instrument carried. This is the shift sufficiency makes. When grace is your government, you stop living as a vulnerable ego guarding its borders and begin living as a transparency for a greater presence. The I that boasts or trembles fades, and the I that is one with the Father speaks and moves. I can of mine own self do nothing, John 5:30. And because of that nothing, everything necessary appears in its hour, not by might, not by power, by grace. Repeat it until fear loosens its jaw. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Then watch how the day, which before felt like an unpayable bill, arrives with its coin, its counsel, its calm, and departs with thanksgiving on its back. Now we come to the crux where many of our troubles are born. The little I that insists, I must defend, I must win, I must correct, I must be understood. That I is a factory for triggers, a small throne that requires daily guarding, and the guarding is exactly what exhausts you. No. Let us take the I out of the argument. Let us take the I out of the dictionary. Except as it refers to God. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The I that must be right is idolatry. The I that knows God is instrumentality. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. John 5:30, 14:10. You see, when the personal claimant retreats, the presence advances, and with it peace that does not need to be purchased by victory. What does this mean in the hour of heat? It means you withdraw your consent from the self that keeps a scoreboard. It means you yield the floor to the inner one who neither flinches nor postures. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. Not I, but Christ. Not willpower, but grace. Not performance, but presence. Say it softly until the shoulders lower. Not I, but Christ. When you stand there, you will discover that the need to be understood dissolves into the freedom to be clear. The need to correct dissolves into the wisdom to speak or not speak as the Father gives. The need to win dissolves into the joy of truth standing on its own feet. Practically, this identity lets you listen without collapsing, because you are no longer the defendant on trial. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Psalm 119 to 165. Offense loses its bait when there is no hungry eye to swallow it. Words may arrive sharp, but they pass through you as wind through reeds when your root is God. And if a word must be given, it will be given. I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. Luke 21:15. You will find sentences arriving already balanced, no barbs hidden in them, no accounting to collect, or you will find silence arriving with weight, and it will not be read as coldness, because the presence in it will be felt. From the same place you act, but you do not act from inner warfare. If a boundary is called for, it rises as a clean line, not a spear. If a wrong requires address, it is addressed without the poison of revenge. Resist not evil. Matthew 5:39. Does not mean endorse it. It means refuse to enthrone it by meeting it on its own level. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:19-21. Good is not naive. Good is God acting as sufficiency here and now. Light that exposes, love that steadies, wisdom that orders steps without hatred. And here forgiveness ceases to be sentiment and becomes vision. The personal I cannot forgive. It can only bargain. But when the I, that is Christ awareness, is your life, you see that evil has no throne. It is a claim without law, noise without authority. The prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me, John 14:30. Nothing in me, because there is no personal self to be flattered or bruised, only the instrument through which God plays his note. Then loosing becomes natural. Loose him and let him go in thought first, in speech next, in conduct last, because your peace no longer rents a room in any man's house. So practice this in your next hour. Pause, breathe, and translate the pronoun. Not I, but Christ. One power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. And watch as the argument, deprived of its little sovereign, fades, and the government of peace takes the chair. Now let us come to forgiveness without naivety. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34. They know not what they do, above all, to themselves. You see, evil is a boomerang. It circles back upon the hand that throws it. He that diggeth a pit shall fall therein. Proverbs 26-27. All they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Matthew 26-52. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6-7. So forgiveness is not the weak consent of the wounded. Forgiveness is the clear refusal to enthrone evil in consciousness as power, as identity, as destiny. No, no, we will not lend evil the law of God. We will not sign our name to its warrant by brooding on it, rehearsing it, owing it our thought. You say, but shall I call harm good? Never. We will not call bitterness sweet or night day. Forgiveness does not certify wrong. It dissolves the inner bondage that keeps wrong as your master. It is the release of another from your mental prisons and the release of yourself from theirs. You may still set a boundary. Indeed, you may be led to set it. You may lock a door, end a contract, change a seat on the bus, file a report that wisdom requires. But you will not nail a rival God onto that door. You will not say, my peace depends on his apology, my future on her reform. No. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Exodus 20-3. One power only. Evil is a claim without law, noise without authority, And when you see this, forgiveness is simply vision. I refuse to accept evil as identity, yours or mine. Let us put it this way. To hate is to drink venom because you saw a snake. To forgive is to recognize that the snake cannot enter the sanctuary within unless you open the door. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. We keep the heart not by denial, but by reassigning power. Source is God, law is God, identity is God. When this is true in you, you stop bargaining for peace from the one who struck you, and you begin receiving peace from the one who is peace. And as for the striker, remember this, the law is not mocked. Their own sowing will tutor them better than your venom ever could. Pray not as judge, behold as instrument. Father, reveal thyself thereto. Ah, but if I forgive, won't I be fooled? No, no. Forgiveness is not gullibility. It is light. Light sees. Light sets a line and keeps it. Light calls the God when needed and closes the ledger of personal revenge. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. James 1:20. Righteousness is not obtained by fury, but by presence. And presence will guide your foot, when to withdraw, when to speak, when to act in clean strength. Good is not naive. Good is God acting as sufficiency, here and now. We have said it. The word is grace. The word is grace. Grace is wise. Grace is protective. Grace lays down no welcome mat for cruelty, yet it lays down no altar to it either. Make this concrete, because the next provocation is near at hand when it comes. Do not let it rent a room in you. First, stop. Even 3 heartbeats will do. Drop your shoulders, and in the inner room say, one power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Then translate the event. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do to themselves. Hear it again until venom loosens. Next, loose them. I agree that no man owes me anything. I release you from my claim. Now ask, without panic, reveal thy boundary. Reveal thy word or thy silence. Wait for the peace that attends guidance. If no peace, do not move. When peace arrives, take the step it gives. Speak the sentence that comes already balanced. Draw the line that comes without hatred, or depart without drama. Close with gratitude. Thank you. The government is upon thy shoulder. Isaiah 9-6. Practice this as liturgy, and you will discover a quiet alchemy. The hot coal placed upon your tongue will not scorch. It will cleanse. The scene that once recruited you into revenge will become a classroom in which you witness the self-destructing nature of evil and your immunity to it in God. The prince of this world cometh and hath nothing in me. John 14:30. Nothing in me, because I refuse to grant him substance. Nothing in me, because I live by one power only. And as you walk this way, seeing clearly, guarding wisely, loosing freely, you will notice that peace stops visiting and begins residing. And the outrage cycle, denied its fuel, flickers and goes out. You say, all right, but what do I do when the flare comes in the office, in the kitchen, on the street? Let us make it very simple, very repeatable. So simple the child in you can do it in 3 breaths. Resist not evil is not passivity. It is the choice to refuse evil, a throne in you. So here is the liturgy. First, stop and name it. Do not argue with it. Do not dramatize it. Say within, This is a claim, not a power. The report, the insult, the threat, the old memory rising, claim, not power. There is no power but of God, Romans 13:1. If you meet the claim as a second power, you have already lost your inner government. No, no. Pause even 3 heartbeats. Let the shoulders drop an inch. Let the breath remind you that you are being breathed. Name it rightly, and the poison has already lost half its strength. Second, return to presence. Communion, not petition. You need not inform omniscience of the facts. You need to remember the one power. So take a single line and let it rock you like a boat until the nervous system settles. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Again, thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. As the stillness begins to thicken, even a little, you may feel the jaw loosen, the chest open, the pace of thought slow. That is not hypnosis. That is presence taking the chair. Remain there until you can say one power only and feel the truth nod back inside you. Third, loose and release. This is the jailbreak of the soul. Loose him and let him go, John 11:44. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Romans 13:8. Speak it within. No man owes me anything. I release this demand. I will not hold you in bondage to my peace. And if a face has risen, boss, partner, neighbor, bless and release. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do to themselves. I loosen you from my ledger. God is my source. You see, as long as your peace is tied to their apology, their reform, their notice of you, you are living by the nation's logic. Cut the cord. Source is God. Channels appear and pass, but source abides. As you loose, you will feel a click in the chest as if a latch opened and a draft of fresh air entered. Fourth, right action, if any. Non-resistance is not do nothing. It is do only from peace. Ask, reveal thy step, thy word or thy silence. Do not move on adrenaline. Wait for the sentence that comes already balanced, or for the line that draws itself without barbs, or for the clear permission to walk away without drama. It shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Matthew 10:19-20. Perhaps one email, exact and uncharged. Perhaps one boundary, spoken once, then held. Perhaps one conversation, short, clean, without the hidden invoice of punishment. Perhaps no action at all, because sometimes the most powerful blow you can refuse the world is the right to govern your interior. Practiced in this way, resist not, becomes a doorway you can find in the dark. At first you will remember step 1 and miss step 3. Then you will remember step 2 and rush past step 4. That is all right. This is an attainment, a measure, but the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. Proverbs 4:18. Day by day the pause deepens. The communion shortens the storm. The loosing becomes swift. The action becomes simple. Over time you will notice that the same triggers arrive but cannot anchor. They circle and fly on because there is nothing in me, John 14:30, to fasten to. And what had been a cycle of outrage becomes a school of peace. The word is grace. The word is grace. Practice it when nothing is wrong, so that when the bell rings, you find the steps already under your feet. Stop and name the claim. Return to presence. Loose and release. act only from peace. This is how the kingdom's government takes its seat in a noisy world, and how you walk unwounded through its theater. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians 4-7. And now, the quiet proof. The world will not ask your permission to remain loud. People will still hurry their judgments. Markets will still sway. Politics will still rattle its sabers. A neighbor may still forget your name, and another may remember your past. Do not build your peace upon a weather report. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. John 14:27. Not as the world giveth, because the world gives and takes back, flatters and frightens by turns. The kingdom gives what it is and does not recall it, so we settle it here. Unshakable peace is inner government by grace. The kingdom of God is within you, Luke 17:21. Government within, not permission from without. No evil has no throne unless you give it one. You see, when you imagine two powers and treat the louder as law, you enthrone a shadow and wonder why the room darkens. But if you agree, really agree, that there is no power but of God, Romans 13:1, the shadow is seen to be only the absence of light, and the light that is God is not absent. My kingdom is not of this world, John 18:36. Therefore its government does not wobble with polls, nor tremble with headlines. It is the same at midnight and at noon, the same in feast and in famine, the same in welcome and in rejection, because it does not borrow its peace from circumstance. Let us make this the daily way, because doctrine without rhythm fades. Each morning, before you gift your attention to the nations of the world, agree your government. Sit as little as 3 minutes, if that is all you have, and say softly and truly, one power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Thy grace is sufficient for me. I agree that no man owes me anything. Do not hurry that. Let it soak your bones. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118-24. The day is made already. You do not need to manufacture it. You need only take your seat in its governance. Then, as the day speaks, practice the order we have learned. Communion before reaction, loosing before speaking. If a message bites, be still until you can feel the word answering from peace. If a face rises that you have taxed with debt, loose it. Owe no man anything but to love one another, Romans 13-8. And as for supply, for open doors, for help, do not look to man whose breath is in his nostrils. Let channels appear, and when they do, bless them, use them, and let them go on their way without your rope tied to their ankle. Source is God. Channels are instruments. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalm 127-1. You will test this, and you must, for truth invites proof, not applause. Build your house upon this rock, and let the weather do as weather does. The rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not. Matthew 7:25. It fell not because the sky cleared, but because the foundation held. Grace is the foundation. Grace is sufficiency. And sufficiency is not a mood. It is government. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. Isaiah 9-6. Then rest your shoulder. So we close not with a promise to rearrange the earth for your comfort, but with a certainty to seat you within it unwounded. Take this into your next ordinary morning. One power only. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Loose him and let him go. Act only from peace. Do this quietly, stubbornly, gratefully, and watch the proof take its gentle place. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Philippians 4:7. Father, isn't this a heavenly earth we have here when thy government is within? Thank you. We will test it and we will rejoice in the results. The word is grace. The word is grace. Amen.